right, so we are going to look at representing integers. So this chart here is going to be your best friend for this lesson. We have listed out here values or words that represent negative or opposite values, and words here that mean positive. And we lined them up with their opposites. So below and above are opposites. Withdraw, deposit are opposite. Loss and gain are opposite. And then for words that we thought that you might not already know the definition, we have the definition or a clue, a hint for it underneath. So we are going to write an integer to represent each situation. So number one, a hiker climbs 900 feet up a mountain. So first I'm going to circle my word 900. Then I'm going to look for a key word. So looking at my chart, I see the word up in my sentence as well as under the positive column. So that tells me it is a positive value, so my integer is positive 900. Remember, you do not need to put a plus next to it if it's positive, only a minus for negative. Number two, you have a debt of $24, so I'm circling my number, looking for my key word. I see the word debt, and over here, debt is on the negative side. So that tells me that my debt is going to give it a negative value. So negative 24 is my integer. I owe money. Number three, a student loses 5 points for being late to class. So I see my number 5, looking for the key word. It says loses, which we've got lose, we've got loss. They all mean the same thing. They are negative value. You are losing points. So that tells me that I'm going to have a negative 5 value. Number 4, a savings account earns $10. So you're saving money, that's a good thing. The key word that I see is earns, which is listed on the positive side of my chart. I'm earning money, that's a good thing, that's a positive thing. Remember, when we have a positive, we don't need the plus, I'm just writing the number 10. Then let's look at the special case scenario here. Write an integer to represent each situation. So Mr. Benson went to the bank and withdrew $200 from his bank account. The key word that I see here is withdrew. And we're going to see this over here. Withdrawal and withdrew, that's the same thing. You're taking money out of a bank account. So generally speaking, on its own, we would say that withdraw means a negative value. But sometimes people get confused, so we're going to look at it in two parts. First off, what integer represents the change in the amount of the money in his bank account? So what happened to his bank account? His bank account went down. You took $200 out, it's negative 200. What integer represents the change in the amount of money in his wallet is 200. So people get confused with withdrawal because, yeah, you have $200 in your hands, but what happened to your bank account? Your bank account went down. You're taking money out so you can spend it. Then for each of these, we want to think about what does 0 mean in certain concepts. So the number 0 can have different meanings based on real-world context. Sometimes it can represent an amount that does not change. It can also be used to represent real-world ideas such as sea level. So in different scenarios, we are going to show what it's representing. Is it showing that something's just not changing, or is it showing a specific type of scenario? So looking at number 6 here. At the beach, John saw a bird flying at 50 feet in the air and a fish swimming at 5 feet below sea level. So we've got in the air, we've got below sea level. In this situation, in this situation, what does 0 represent? So we are talking about a bird in the air at 50 feet. So I'm going to say up here is our bird, which is at 50 feet. And then below sea level, maybe around here, is our fish, which is at 5 feet. So the 0 right here, and if I kind of draw a little picture, is representing the water level. So 0 would represent at sea level. That is our middle ground. We have things that are up above in the air. We have things that are below the sea level, below the water level. So what integer would represent the bird? Well, the bird is above the water at positive 50. It's in the air. Up means positive. The fish is below the sea level, below or negative values. And again, if we looked on the chart, we would see below sea level is on our negative side. Let's look at another scenario. Tom works on the 4th floor of his office building. When he drives to work, he parks his car in the parking garage, which is 2 floors below ground. So what does 0 represent in this situation? Well, we're talking about a parking garage and an office building. So we've kind of got our office building up top, we've got our parking garage below, and this measure of 0 is going to just be on the ground, or the ground level. Or I'll put or ground level. So there's things above ground, there's things below ground, and there's things that are at the ground or on the ground. So write an integer to represent Tom's office. So Tom works on the 4th floor of his building. His office building is above the ground. So maybe I'm going to put 4 is somewhere up here. This is Tom at the 4th floor. Write an integer to represent where Tom parks his car. Well, Tom is parking his car 2 floors below the ground. Remember, that means negative. That is below the ground level, under the ground level. So this would be his car, which is at negative 2. So Tom's office is at positive 4, above the ground. His car is at negative 2. That's showing that it's below ground. Number 8, Angela is $35.62 in debt. What would a value of 0 mean in this situation? So $35.62 in debt, we're talking about money, the amount of money that she has. So if the value of 0 means that Angela has no money. Or has no money in her account. What integer would represent this situation? Well, we have 3562 in debt is negative. So negative 3562. That means she owes money. That's not a good thing. Number 9, Ashley's grade decreased 7 points. So I see 7. I see decreased. First question asks, what would a value of 0 mean in this situation? So her grade decreases 7 points. What would be her grade change 0 points? That means she didn't gain or lose points. So some scenarios, there are specific explanations at the ground level, at the sea level. You know, she has no money. In some cases, you're just going to say she didn't gain, she didn't lose. She didn't go up, she didn't go down. And what integer represents this situation? Well, decreased, if we look at our chart, is negative. So it went down, that's a negative value, negative 7. Number 10, the basement in Jennifer's house is at negative 10 feet. What would a value of 0 mean in this situation? Well, we're talking about our house, kind of like scenario number 7. We've got a house that would be above ground, so 0 would mean ground level or on the ground. And then how would you describe the basement's position in the house? Well, is the basement on the ground? Is it above the ground? Or is it below the ground? In this instance, it's below ground.